Hello my friends and welcome back to Biblio On Books. I am Didi and today I want to introduce what I hope will be the beginning of a little bit of a segment or a theme on my channel, and that's called Biblio Binge. So this Biblio Binge segment is where I share very addicting books, very binge-worthy books, and books that I myself have been binging. These are books that I found that they're easy to get into, they're easy to stay in and finish. They really helped me just escape. I found that I'll be reading maybe book 1 of the series and certain characters will already stand out to me, and I'll be already opening my Goodreads and scrolling and trying to find where those characters are and where they're going to get their own book. So I'll wait until even book 14 to get to just their book. So also during this segment I will be sharing some binge-worthy snacks or desserts or just some yummy food that I like, because that's who I am. I like to eat. So today I chose some tiramisu. It's, I think 3 layers, actually 2 layers with a little Ferrero Rocher, and that's because this first Biblio binge is the Bound in Blood Mafia Chronicles by Cora Reilly, and it's a dark romance, it's mafia romance, contemporary romance, and erotica. So those are the main themes throughout all the books. So far there are 7 books that I know of, and the first one is Bound by Honor, and then it is Bound by Duty, then Bound by Hatred, Bound by Temptation, and then Bound by Vengeance. And so far I've read 4 of the 5 that I've just mentioned, and I'll tell you a little bit later about why I skipped book 4. Okay, so let's get started by introducing book 1. Okay, so book 1 follows Luca and Aria. Luca is about to be the capo of the New York Familia, and he's super big. So his dad is right now the capo, and that makes him, they're the biggest, the NYC Mafia is the biggest one in the country. In terms of the Italian Mafia, we're not including the Russian and there's another one, I forgot which one. I think it might be the Mexican Mafia or cartel, I'm not sure, I forgot. But in terms of the Italian Familia, the NYC one is very big, and Luca's gonna succeed his father. So there's certain ways of this world, this mafia world, so he needs to find a wife, and that is in Aria, who is the daughter of the Chicago outfit's bosses. She's the daughter of the boss of the Chicago outfit. So they're trying to unite the NYC and the Chicago families, and she actually gets proposed to when she's 15, but they only get married at 18, so it's, you know, it's legal. But they do meet when they are 15 just to agree on the union and the marriage between the 2 families, and then we fast forward to when they're 18. It was a really good introduction, actually, let me say that. I think just in perspective with other ones, you think, okay, well, this one goes down the list in terms of my favorites. But Aria is very princess vibes, you know, she's blonde hair, blue eyes, and she's looked up to in their world, and she's very personable, versus the formidable and scary and violent. And obviously he's built up this reputation, and he kind of has to, so that he's taken seriously, Luca, as the capo. So it's one of those, he becomes only soft for her, and she's the only one that sees him in a more humane way, like he's more not the monster when he's with her. Anyway, I think what I didn't really enjoy is that Arya is all, I won't be a trophy wife, that's not who I want to be. And obviously she's 18 when she gets married, she doesn't really know who she is, but you know, it felt like she was super adamant about not wanting to be a trophy wife, but then she doesn't do anything about it. And her sister's even like, research, what are you going to do? You're just going to be locked up in the apartment with your bodyguard doing nothing, shopping. And she's like, no, I don't even like shopping. Another thing is that she actually kind of tries to get to know him, so it feels like a genuine marriage because it was so arranged and they never saw each other. So they go to the gym and she's like, no, I really want to learn how to defend myself. And it sounds so cool. She's actually, it breaks also the monotony of the book of her just waiting for him to come home. And it happens once and not again. And also they know that they're going to the gym at the penthouse, so they pack a bag and then they go change at the gym. For what? And if you see that gym scene, I think it was just so that typical kind of like protective, I'm gonna check that no one's in the bathroom thing. Anyway, there is definitely a part of it that I don't like. I'm not gonna give a spoiler, but she, in this world, obviously it's a very puritanical culture, so she had to be a virgin until marriage, and he is not. So the way that he takes care of his needs is it's beyond uncomfy, it's beyond despicable for me. Still read the whole book and I really enjoyed it still. She kind of just takes it, becomes a doormat, which it's so differing from the vibe that you get from her. You'd think that she would want to push back a bit more against what he did. Anyhow, another scene that I liked is Luca defending her when there is an altercation at the club, and also her sister Gianna and her protectiveness of her sister of Arya is really amazing. And Gianna's book is book 3, and when I say that I saw myself in Gianna, I really, really mean it. And I could not wait until her book, which is when I opened my app and I was thinking, I need to get to her book. Anyway, let's move on to book 2, which is Bound by Duty. Alright, so book 2 is Bound by Duty, and it features Dante and Valentina, and Dante is a head boss of sorts, I think in the Chicago outfit, and he is a widower. And what's unique about his situation is that his first marriage, his wife they were a love match, so they actually, even though this mafia world has an arranged marriage central in their family values and their ways, his one worked out to be a love match. And then we have Valentina, the heroine. She was also married and she is a widow, but her marriage was marriage of convenience, doubly so. I won't tell you why it was a doubling way of having a marriage of convenience, because it is a spoiler, pretty big one. Anyway, I really like that Valentina, we had a more mature heroine. All the other ones, they're 18, you know, as they turn of legal age they get married, but because she had come from a first marriage, she is now 23, her husband died. And the benefit of that is that you get to have a heroine that knows herself. She's had the opportunity to discover herself, obviously 5 years later, and she knows that she wants to work, and she asks for it. Unfortunately, she has to ask for permission, and he allows it. But she was really adamant about saying that I'm going to go in and I'm going to present my case and work to get work. And he then says, okay, fine, go do it. And I really liked seeing the way that they work together, because then he says, go work in one of my casinos. But that was basically the only way in which he was engaging with her, because he is cold. This was a cold hero, and usually this is something that I super love, you know, seeing the cold hero get thought out. It's something that I loved in Nalini Singh's Caressed by Ice. But he ignores her. It was when she says, I think even the blurb says, he treats her like a piece of furniture. I felt for my girl. I felt for her way, way hard. Fun fact, this was published on the 9th of February 2015, and that's the day of my birthday, so it also happens to be this Bound by Didi, one of my favorite in the series. So that worked out. And something rare that happened in the book is that you get to see some action, some mafia action, some kind of life or death situation, you know, and that's really nice. I mean, we do like that it's a romance, but you also, seeing as it's a mafia romance, you kind of want to see the mafia business. And we are moving on to the third book, which is Bound by Vengeance. So Bound by Vengeance is the book that I actually was looking forward to the most, because it is Gianna, who is Arya's sister. Arya is from Bound by Honor, the first book, and Matteo, who is Luca's brother, and again Luca is from the first book as well. And the reason why Gianna, you know, I think sometimes people write this Spitfire heroine, she's so fierce and she speaks her mind, and considering how going against the grain that is in their world, she is so bold and so courageous. But it's not just something that's, I don't know, contrived or something like that. It's very much her essence, and that came out through the book. It felt very tangible that she was this person, but this came out more in the first book, when she was, you know, visiting her sister, went in scenes with her sister, and when they were talking about her in the second book, because that's how much of a stir that she created in their world. And I cannot emphasize how much I was thinking, I see myself in her, a younger me at that age. She would speak her mind, she would take no prisoners, she would call out everyone's BS, and of course she had consequences, unfortunately. But yeah, so this is the preface setting up who she is and why I was so excited to see her. So Gianna's book starts off with her running away, because she knows that she does not want to be a part of the mafia. She cannot stand for what they stand for, the violence of who they are. I mean, the dodgy stuff, you know what you're getting into. And she commits to actually running away, leaving the country, leaving the familiar, knowing that it's going to be at great cost to her. She knows that you can never come back. When they say this is born in blood, you leave by blood as well. And even though she's one of the daughters of one of the most upper bosses, she cannot bring shame to her family that way. If she comes back, there will be GRAVE consequences, the gravest of consequences. So she knows that cut ties, goodbye forever. However, Matteo is very adamant about her being his, so he goes to Europe and finds her and brings her back. And unfortunately there was collateral damage in Europe, so she's struggling to get past that, knowing that maybe she's at fault. And yeah, we take it from there, and this becomes super hate to love. Okay, so this one was a hate to love. So beyond the marriage of convenience, obviously, because she has trauma and guilt over what happened, she hates him even more, and he becomes a bigger representation of why she left in the first place. Unfortunately for me, Gianna really did not live up to her characterization in the first books. She was just so real and passionate and courageous. And I know, you don't want to create waves when you've already created such big waves, but there were moments where it was blatantly flat, and it felt not authentic, or not as authentic as the way she'd been portrayed in previous books. It was a flippity flop, and it felt as if the author couldn't really get the essence or capture the essence of who she was and portray her in the way as she'd been, you know, previously. And this was a dual POV book, but so you get both Mateo and Gianna's perspectives, but you don't really get insight into who they are, so that was super unfortunate. So this was more plot driven, I think, I realized, than it was character driven, which I didn't really enjoy. Another book that has the dual POV writing is the fifth book, which is Bound by Vengeance, and this one follows Growl, who is the Las Vegas. Right, so Growl is actually an enforcer for the Las Vegas Camorra. So we've moved all the way from NYC to Las Vegas. We're in the Las Vegas outfit, and he is their most brutal, most violent assassin, which says something. And his reputation very much precedes him. He has the scar across his throat where it looks like someone slit his throat and he survived, which is the case. Finding out who is very enlightening. So he's treated as this person. He's a very much convenient person for their world, so he makes their problems go away, but they don't like him. They invite him to things just to have entertainment, to have someone to talk about. And he's also ostracized from their perfect world with their values because he is a bastard, you know, born out of wedlock. So much irony, so much cringe. But more cringe is to come because we have Cora, who is the heroine and very much the embodiment of Las Vegas Mafia princess. She comes from an affluent family, very loved and well respected because her dad is the right hand to the Las Vegas boss. However, her dad now goes and betrays that boss, and the whole family needs to get punished. That means her sister and her mother and her. Now, Cara's punishment is that she's given to Growl because they see that as fitting, you know, to take the pampered girl and give her to this terrifying monster. I really liked seeing them play quote-unquote happy family, you know, play home. She didn't get the traditional, you know, she goes and gets married, but they somewhat make it work. They acclimate to each other. Growl gets used to living with someone else. He's very much been by himself since childhood, except for his dogs, Coco and Bandit, whom I love and adore and are cute and are rescues and are pit bulls, and give pit bulls some respect, and let's stop portraying them as these vicious, violent animals. Anyway, and then seeing also Cora acclimate to going from this palatial home, pampered, things being, you know, accessible and pleasant for her, and just also the security of knowing what's going to happen in her life, to slumming it but trying to make the best of it and getting to know him. But my girl slummed it. Hey, things were the pits, they were rough, it was horrible. The biggest downfall of this book is really the writing. Cora's POV is written in first person, but then it would jump out of nowhere to third person. And I mean, this carried on throughout the book. I highlighted and bookmarked it. I don't understand how this happened, what checks it went through, and still, you know, this happened. So it was vexing, it made it confusing. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy that part, but the book and the plot was pretty good. Had to take a mini tiramisu snack break. It is yummy. There's a little Ferrero Rocher on the top. Right, so I think you would have noticed that I read book 1, 2, 3, skipped 4, and went to 5. The reason I skipped book 4, which is Bound by Temptation, and that is representing Liana, if I remember correctly, and she's the sister of Gianna from book 3 and Aria from book 1. She felt too childlike, and she was young. She was about 14 when I was exposed to her last, like before her book. And she basically is gonna pursue her story with one of the family's bodyguards. But it just screamed of puppy love. I know I haven't read it. I can't really make this. I can make the assumption. I am making it right now, but to go further than that, I can't. But I really couldn't see myself reading it, so I just skipped and went to book 5, which is Bound by Vengeance. And I hope that I will also finish book 6 and 7 soon, which are Bound by Love and then Bound by the Past. Bound by Love goes back to Ari and Luca. Bound by the Past will follow Dante and Valentina. So yeah. Also, side note, I did read Sweet Temptation. That was my first Cora Reilly book. I'll check my GR. And it is kind of a spin-off of the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles. And it was messed up. There was incest. It was tough to read that. The heroine doesn't really feel like a person. I can't even remember her name. Okay, it is very forgettable. She was super. That is where you can really tell. And also when you go through the reviews, you kind of think, okay, so it really was not just me. I saw no person. I read no person there. But throw your eyes there. It gets interesting, the part of the incest. Not between the heroine and the hero, but still. That's where the spice was. The rest was not it. So for this Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles by Cora Reilly, my average rating was between 3 to 3.5 stars. I didn't really go much further than that. They were enjoyable. I couldn't put them down, but they had many downfalls. But I would still recommend that you can read them. But the whole grammatical errors was an issue. What I really liked about this dark romance, I haven't read a dark romance, mafia romance in a while, and I think this is the first full-blown series that I've done, is seeing the parallels that they have with historical romance. You see people marry for power and alliance and peace and money and, to merge families and different areas together, and not so much for love. There's a lot of arranged marriage here. It's definitely an acquired taste. You will cringe. You will see that it's backwards. You'll still enjoy it. So yeah, I did definitely have a good time with this. I will say that I think historical has the genre of dark romance. Historical romance has one-upped dark romance in that there's more representation of, women being more empowered, even though it's possible, it is historically inaccurate, but I love seeing authors being liberal about their writing and just write a different story, and we enjoy it. But it is fun to see another side where it is true to what it is really like. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this long video where I spoke and my phone kept stopping because I ran out of space. Anyway, so let me know if you will be picking up this series, if you've read it. I know a lot of people have read it, and I'm so glad that I finally picked it up. And now you see why I picked up my tiramisu. It got me through this video. Let me know what you will be binging next, or which series I should check out for my Biblio Binge series, and what you eat. What is your binge snack? I want to know. That's the important question, because I like to eat. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you very soon. Pick up a read and Biblio on. I'm looking for the will to live. Someone come help me with this storage. Milk, because of course. Yummy.